This nigga right here.
Wake up, count it up, get my money up, keep that semi tucked, cause I know I'm up. Wake up, count it up, get my money up, keep that semi tucked, cause I know I'm up.
Hi, my name is Rob Racer and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I will be doing the top 10 fastest drag racing cars in Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, I will not be doing this list based on which one is the best in my opinion. I'm just doing them on price and how good they are in comparison to one another. Now, there are 10 cars, and before I start, I just want to say thank you for 800 subs again. I can't believe that we actually hit this. This is amazing in my opinion. And let's try to get to 900 by the end of the month because that would be insane also. But for an honorable mention, I'm just going to include the Rat Truck because the Rat Truck is probably one of the biggest troll trucks in the game. But we're doing regular drag racing, so let's get right on with the first car. And the first car is actually the Vapid Blade, and the Vapid Blade is the cheapest, best drag racing car to buy if you're just not getting into drag racing. It's actually one of the cheaper muscle cars to buy. It's $160,000 as the base price. In my opinion, the wheelie, if you learn how to do it, it honestly translates to all the other cars in the game. Now, one problem that it does have is that it does have a tendency to pull in a certain direction, which kind of will mess you up. Now, I would not do drag racing on this strip. I'll probably do it on one that is a little bit wider, just so this car can have a chance. And in my opinion, this is probably one of the better cars to have, in my opinion, as a starter car at least, or even if you just want a cheap, fast muscle car, then this is definitely the one that you want to go for. Now, it's based off of the Ford Falcon in real life, and in my opinion, it's probably one of my favorite PS3 muscle cars that are actually still decent in the game, and is one of the best looking gases in the game, in my opinion. But that's all I got to say for this one. Let's move on to number 2. And at number 2, we have the Impala. Now, this was featured in my top 5 fastest drag racing cars. Now, the reason why it's so low on the list is, like I said, it's the price bracket. This car, its base price actually only costs $331,835, and you can find it on Southern San Andreas, and it's also an Arena War vehicle. Now, I would not upgrade this to the Arena War version because it is kind of trash when you do, unless it's the Nightmare Impaler, then it's a little bit better, but honestly, I would just keep it with the stock one. Now, this is another good drag racing car. It's been the one that's been on my channel for a long time, and it's actually one of my favorite muscle cars in the game just because it does remind me a lot of the 1967 Chevrolet Impala with the 67, Chevy Chevelle rear end. It's just a beautiful car, and it's a fast car, and in my opinion, you should definitely give it a look if you want to move up the price bracket and if you could afford something like this. Now, the next car is the DClass A Yosemite, which is based off of a Chevrolet truck from the 1960s and 70s, and the price of the truck is $485,000. Now, in my opinion, if you want to have a good muscle truck, this is definitely the one that you want to go for. This is probably one of the better muscle cars to be doing drag races with, but there are ones that are way higher than this one that cost more and perform a little bit better than this one. But in my opinion, this is definitely another good one to get started in because this is kind of like the Vamos wheelie, but a word of advice, take off the rear bumper if you want to have it not drag on the ground, because it does create less drag, because as you see, the bumper kind of connects to the ground a lot more for this car, and it gets stuck because it has air ride suspension. But in my opinion, it's definitely one of the better muscle cars, and for the price, it's actually pretty good. And let's get on to the next car, which happens to be the Hermes, its counterpart with the air ride suspension. Now, this car does cost $535,000. In my opinion, I would probably go towards the Yosemite route, even though they're kind of the same car, but this one has a much more of a tendency to drag, especially now with the new update. They kind of made it back to where it was originally, where the bumper kind of clips through the ground for both of the cars, and they kind of don't perform as well, but when you do learn how to do it, it's pretty good. And this one actually hangs in a little bit longer than the Yosemite, and for the price, honestly, in my opinion, it's still worth it, and it's probably one of the better muscle cars that you'll find on GTA 5. It's definitely one of the best looking. It's based off of a 49 Mercury and a 1951 Hudson Hornet and a lot of old custom California hot rods that you see driving around. Now, I have this livery on it because it's also based off of a Burnout Paradise car that I really enjoyed on PS3, and I have it on PS4. But as you can see, it does have a tendency to clip through the ground in certain areas of the map, so keep that in mind when you're drag racing. Now, it's also one of the faster muscle cars in the game as well. I wouldn't personally use it during a race. Now, I have in the past, and I have won a couple races, but this car does have a really bad tendency of flipping over, and I would definitely not use it during track races. I'll probably just use it in oval races and like other oval-based muscle car races. But in my opinion, it's a pretty good muscle car for the price, and I love it so much, and I think you guys should definitely also give that one a look, and it's pretty fast too. Now, the next one is the legendary Vamos, which is based off of a 1970 to 72 Chevy Nova. And this car, honestly, in my opinion, is the best muscle car to try to get into when it comes to drag racing. It's literally a cheat code. Like, it takes no skill, it takes nothing. It doesn't even take you actually having to know how to wheelie properly to do it right. You could literally just hold down the gas the whole time and it would do it by itself. And the car, honestly, in my opinion, is so good. It doesn't handle the best. Now, it is one of the slower muscle cars, keep that in mind, but the wheelie at the airport honestly just destroys everything else in its path, and it's probably one of the better muscle cars to buy when it comes to this. Now, it's pretty cheap. As I said, it's $596,000, which is pretty much going into the regular price for most cars in the game nowadays, which is insane to even say, but you know, it is what it is, and honestly, you get a lot for the price, and in my opinion, it's definitely one of the best looking muscle cars in the game. But let's move on to the next car, which is the Class A Tulip, which is based off of a 1970 to 71 Chevy Malibu, which is also a Chevelle platform in real life. Now, this car, in my opinion, if you know how to do wheelies properly, this is more of an expert wheelie type car more than anything. Now, it is actually faster. If you know how to wheelie, and trust me, like, I couldn't get any perfect clips because it had been a minute since I had wheelied in this car, and I kind of couldn't get the timing down right. But this car is actually faster than the Cyclone, which is presumably one of the fastest drag racing cars. But the Cyclone, honestly, is one of the slower supercars anyways. But this car actually beats it, and in my opinion, you should definitely give this one a look. And let's get on to the next car on the list, which is the Peyote Gasser. Now, this is more of the high price territory, and this one goes up to $805,000, which is pretty pricey. But in my opinion, it is definitely one of the best muscle cars in the game. It's up there with a lot of the muscle cars. It's fast, and it does really amazing wheelies. Honestly, in my opinion, I would rather have this over the Vamos because I've actually beaten people in pariahs with this car. Now, that was without them doing double clutching, and that was just with me doing the wheelie. But honestly, in my opinion, this car is still worth a good look over. It's based off of a Ford Thunderbird hot rod, just as the Blade Gasser is. In my opinion, this is definitely the best gasser in the game compared to everything else. And honestly, I would definitely give it a look through and see what you can do with it because it's definitely one of the better muscle cars that you could use to wheelie in the game. But on to the next one, we have the good old-fashioned Pariah, which comes in at a price tag of $1,420,000. Now, this car by itself is the fastest car in the game. Now, tricks for the people who want to learn how to do better in drag racing: a double clutch combo or a clutch or the shift method, as somebody had commented on my other video. This with the rev launch where you don't spin the tires is literally going to dust the Cyclone in an instant. I kid you not, I have beaten so many people in Cyclones with this car. It is insane. This car honestly is my favorite car to buy, and definitely is definitely one of the better priced cars out of every car in the game. But let's get on to the next one, and we have the Cyclone, which comes in at a hefty price tag of $1,890,000. Now, I would not buy this car solely for anything else but drag racing. This car is not that good when it comes to racing compared to other supercars in the game, because once every other supercar does eventually hit top speed, this car does have a tendency to slack off a little bit and isn't able to keep up. But for drag racing, it's definitely one of the better ones because it's able to keep up so well, and in my opinion, it's literally a cheat code drag car. But in my opinion, I wouldn't use it as much, or I wouldn't use it at all if you're more skilled at drag racing. And as I said, the Tulip can beat this car, and the Pariah can beat this car pretty easily, so keep that in mind. But on to the final car, which is, of course, the Imperator, which is the most expensive drag racing car in the game, which is priced at $2,284,940. Now, this car, honestly, in my opinion, is literally the best drag racing car in the game. For the price, it is a lot, And any other car in this list, honestly, in my opinion, you could pick up for pretty cheap. But if you want an ultimate drag racing car, I would definitely pick this one up. Now, I was getting a lot of grief for not including this one on the list, mainly because it was an arena car, and I did not know how good this car really was without using boost. And with boost, this car just destroys, because you could actually make it to where the wheelie holds on for longer, and it just destroys every other car. And in my opinion, I would definitely look this one up if you can. And that is actually it for today's video. I just wanted to make it a short one, and I wanted to revise my list because I did have a lot of errors in my list, and it probably wasn't the best way to show off the good drag racing cars in the game. And in my opinion, this is definitely a much needed revision, as the video is a couple months old now and I kind of need to update it. But that is it for today. Follow my Instagram at @raw_racer, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.